What's up, everybody? What is going on? What is going on? Super excited to be here. Super excited. Welcome to the TrevBeats Show. My name is Trevor Lawrence Jr. I am your host. Thank you for watching and joining us for our live premiere episode today. We're going to dive into a very hot and sometimes even polarizing topic, which is AI. We also have some very special guests, Mr. Terrace Martin, fresh off his 2 Grammy nominations, and producer, bass player, and collaborator to the stars, and one of my favorite musicians, CARRTOONS. And if that's not enough, we have some giveaways, a little news. We're going to talk about traveling as a musician, and a whole bunch more. So that's all happening today on the TrevBeats Show. Let's get it.
TrevBeats Show, TrevBeats Show. TrevBeats Show, TrevBeats Show.
All right, so we're gonna kick it off with some gear talk, and it's time for one of my favorite segments, which is Let's Talk Tech.
Let's talk tech. Let's talk tech. Let's talk tech with TrevBeats.
So I'm super happy to finally be able to mention that my latest pack, Trevor Lawrence Jr. Boom Bap Drums, was just released this past Wednesday, November 12th on Splice. That's my second pack with Splice, and this one, for all my drummers and producers out there, this one I built with a specific goal, which was I wanted the pocket to be authentic and it had a vintage energy, a vintage vibe, but I wanted the sound to be modern. So it's like a vintage vibe with modern clarity. That's what's going on Boom Bap Drums. With this pack, you're gonna get loops, one-shots, recorded across classic kits, different snare drums, of course, which I know will inspire you and, really should knock in your mix no matter what genre you're creating in. So here are a couple demos produced by my bro, Stray. It's like really cool, and I think you'll really like it, and it'll work great in your production or in your songwriting or whatever you would use it for. Now moving on, we also have another release that came out, which is XLN Audio's Addictive Drums 2 ad pack called Hip Hop and Gospel. That also dropped this past Wednesday. And why am I mentioning this? Well, it comes with 20 presets that I created, especially for this ad pack. So the history with me and Addictive is I first started using Addictive, the original Addictive drums, way back in 2008. You can hear them all over some of the early work I did with Eminem, all over his Relapse album, and almost everything I did during that time, all the way up to the release of Compton with Dr. Dre in 2015. Even to this day, I still use Addictive, and now it's Addictive 2. So, this is going to be also a really cool pack, and, let's get into a couple things about it. So, especially the fact that because of this stream and this live and this being the premiere of the TrevBeats Show, I've collaborated with Addictive with a XLN Audio, and we have a discount for everyone that is on this live or on this stream. So at the end, all the details will be in the description, but you'll be able to get, for a limited time, 20% off the entire XLN Audio catalog. So I think that's a great deal to take advantage of, to check out hip hop drums, hip hop and gospel, and all the other products that they have at XLN Audio. So that's going to be something that'll be in the description, and it should be very cool to be able to get 20% off. So shouts out to them for allowing me to do that. So next up, what we're going to talk about is something that absolutely is kind of on the cutting edge of some of what's going on right now. You can actually, before I get into this next segment, you should head over to Splice and check out Boom Bap Drums, and then also go over to Excellent Audio and check out what they have going on. And you can use the stuff that'll be in my description, the links. You'll be able to get 20% off. So that is what's going on with Let's Talk Tech.
Like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe.
You can't make this stuff up. You can't, you just freaking can't.
Well, this is our news segment. This is one of our news segments. And today, you truly can't make this stuff up. Sometimes real life somehow outdoes fiction lately. And today we've got a shutdown drama. We're going to talk about the bonus checks, healthcare confusion, leaked emails, and a senator from Arizona who flipped the whole script. So let's get into it. So after a federal shutdown that stretched long enough to freeze paychecks, cancel flights, and slow everything from food inspections to small business loans, the government is finally back open. But the drama didn't stop when the doors reopened. At a press conference in Houston, Homeland Security Secretary Kristi Noem announced that TSA agents with what she called exemplary service during the shutdown will receive $10,000 bonus checks on top of their back pay. She said, for stepping up, taking on extra shifts, for showing up each and every day, we will be looking at every single TSA official who has helped serve during this government shutdown and do what we can to help them and their family get back on their feet. I mean, I absolutely really hope this happens, but I feel like it's going to be a big fat bowl of
Hell no. Hell no. Hell no.
But honestly, I really hope it does work, because those people that went to work during that time, they should be applauded. And it's very hard to go to work knowing that you're not getting paid. So I think they should all get the bonus checks. Meanwhile, air travel has still been a mess, even though the government shutdown is done. The FAA restricted flights because of air traffic controller shortages, and long TSA lines had airports looking like old school sneaker drops. Y'all remember those? President Trump also chimed in during the shutdown, warning that air traffic controllers who called out would be substantially docked, while also saying he'd recommend $10,000 bonuses for the ones who kept showing up unpaid. So yes, two different branches of government announcing the exact same dollar amount for bonuses. You can't make this stuff up, but I really hope it happens for those people. I really do.
In politics this week.
Was the real spark that ended the shutdown? Bipartisan move in Congress, specifically a discharge petition, which is basically the break glass in case of emergency lever lawmakers can pull when leadership won't bring a bill to a vote. And the wild card signature that pushed the petition over the top came from a senator from Arizona, Adelita Grijalva, a move that broke with party leadership and forced a floor vote to reopen the government. One signature changed everything. One signature changed everything. Not because of partisanship, but because everyone was tired of watching the country grind to a halt. Now, with all this was happening, millions of Americans were still trying to figure out their health insurance. During the shutdown, there was confusion about Affordable Care Act subsidies, but here's the bottom line post-shutdown. Insurance subsidies under the ACA are still active. Payments and credits that were delayed should now resume processing. Open enrollment adjustments and appeals are back online. That's awesome. And if you rely on ACA subsidies, in most cases, the shutdown didn't cancel your coverage, but it may have slowed down some paperwork and approvals. So basically, things are open. Air traffic is slowly normalizing, and the shutdown cost the economy billions, and the aftershocks still aren't done. But at least we're on the road to something, positive. And that was just for all the people that, were out of work during that time and the SNAP benefits and all that. I hope that everything works out for you. So now let's shift gears and talk about the music side, which is one of the main conversations of today.
Let's talk about music. Ooh, let's talk about music.
All right, well, AI. AI is a word that we've been hearing so much lately as regards the music industry. Creation, registration, and now basically capitulation, because things are changing fast. Things that I never thought would be here are already here. So we now have major labels like Sony, Universal, Warner. We got big distributors like Merlin and Believe collaborating to build responsible AI products that empower artists and songwriters. That almost sounds hard to believe, but apparently that's happening. They're supposedly placing artist-first principles at the center: choice, rights, compensation, and connection. But on the flip side, some people in the tech space say copyright should be abolished. We don't think musicians' rights matter. If the industry doesn't lead now, AI innovation will happen somewhere else, without consent, without credit, without payment. Those are some of the vibes that we're getting from some of the tech side. So there's a constant fight happening. But here are a few core principles of the collaborations that are happening. So there'll be partnerships with labels and publishers, and they're building products with upfront agreements, not asking forgiveness later. Now, that sounds eerily similar to when we had the sample time, when samples first started. That sounds very similar to that, because people were just doing it and then asking for forgiveness later, or trying to get it cleared later. So with the choice and participation that they're proposing, creators can decide how and if they want to participate. So that could be positive, for AI. Fair compensation, new revenue streams, artists get paid and credited. That's very positive. And here's the real big news that just happened. So for all my songwriters out there, this is the big news that really just happened. All the three major North American PROs, and PROs are performing rights organizations, so they collect royalties for songwriters. ASCAP, BMI, and SOCAN now accept registrations of partially AI-generated works. Now, let's go back to about a year ago. This would have sounded completely far-fetched and untenable a year ago, because AI was coming on the scene, but it wasn't quite as big as it is now. It didn't have all the successes that we've seen now in different charts and different things like that, right? So they're now accepting partially AI generated works. That means that if a human and AI collaborated, the work can be registered. Now, fully AI generated works are not eligible. What does partial collaboration mean? Well, if a human uploaded a beat, a lyric, melody, lyrics, or sound to an app like what they do in Suno or Udio, that may be considered human collaboration, or, well, maybe that would be considered AI collaboration. I mean, it depends on how you look at it. But fully prompted works where you didn't put any material or come up with a melody or come up with a lyric or anything, that would be considered full AI. And we don't know how that's gonna fare when all this the smoke clears with all this stuff. So these rules and ideas are still not official, and they're still being hashed out with lawsuits and negotiations. Will anything be regulated anytime soon? We'll have to wait and see. But at least there's a discussion, at least there's a conversation that's happening regarding AI, because I don't think it's going anywhere. You know what I mean? And every time there's been a new technology, there's been pushback. And you know what? Let's tell that story of how we got to where we are. Let's take a moment and go back in history to see how we actually ended up where we are today. I see you guys online. What's up, everybody? What's up, Thomas V 8888? Okay, so here we go. It's a long story. It's been a lot of innovation to get us here. So back in the 1920s through the 1940s, everything was recorded direct to disc. Artists performed live, and actually when they were performing, it was being cut live to a wax or acetate, like a master record essentially. So there were no overdubs, no edits, no safety net. So that means if the drummer blew it or if the trumpet player missed a note, guess what? That was the take. So imagine the level of musicianship back then. Then came a real big game changer, magnetic tape around the late 1940s. After World War II, engineers brought back the German magnetophone. And, one second, y'all. After World War II, the Germans brought back the Americans from Germany brought back what was called the magnetophone. And then a company called Ampex in the United States, which we know from making 2-inch tape, they refined it. So now sound could be recorded, rewound, edited, and even layered. So that was huge. And then Les Paul, who we know from being immortalized by his guitar name, he was one of the first people to overdub himself, creating the idea of multi-track recording before it even had a name. And by the mid-1950s, stereo arrived. So that was 2 tracks left and right. And for the first time, listeners could feel space in recording, like you were in the room with the band. Major labels made stereo records standard by 1958, and hi-fi systems became a household thing. So then the 1960s was the real birth of multi-track recording. Studios moved from 2 tracks, 3 tracks to 4 tracks, then to 8-track machines. And that meant that bass, drums, guitars, vocals could all have their own lane now. So then we see hugely advanced leaps in creativity from the Beatles and Motown and everyone who used this freedom to change how records were made. And then by the 1970s, 16-track and then 24-track, aka 2-inch analog tape took over and machines. Producers could now record huge arrangements, like Phil Spector with his layering, and they could experiment with layering and mix. You could mix now as a separate time, a separate process, just mixing, right? And you could really sit there and work on every track, which is still done today. And that was the golden age of, big tape machines and huge consoles. Like every studio had that. So then in the late 70s and early 80s, recording started to go digital. Sony, 3M, and Mitsubishi built the first digital multi-track recorders. And by 1982, the compact disc hit the market, ushering in the digital age. Now, it wasn't quite as, widespread for everyone to own it until the mid to late 80s, but it was around. And then through the 90s, when home recording started to boom, systems like the ADAT or the DA88, those things made it affordable for smaller home studios. And then the revolution that changed everything happened, the digital audio workstation, or DAW. So when Pro Tools dropped in 1991, and before that it was called Sound Tools, it gave you 4 digital tracks on a computer. And then fast forward till today. Logic, Ableton, FL Studio, Pro Tools, you could record almost an entire orchestra or album from your bedroom. So the reason I'm telling this story and this history is because all the way from when they used to cut grooves into acetate to record, through all the evolutions to where we are today with DAWs, there has been pushback. And that's what we're seeing with AI. It's no different. We're in the front end of the AI revolution, and AI will soon become as accepted as cutting on Ableton or Logic or Pro Tools. So I think we need to realize it's not going to go anywhere. Just like these things haven't gone anywhere, it's not going to go anywhere. Recording has evolved, and creation and creativity is evolving right now before our very eyes. But one thing hasn't changed. It's still all about capturing the performance and the emotion. Or maybe it's just about capturing the emotion, perhaps, bypassing the performance, I guess. I don't know, if you're prompting, who knows? Only time will tell. But AI in music isn't sci-fi anymore, y'all. It's real. It's now and it's moving fast. So if you use AI, use it smart and use it intentionally. Don't use it as a replacement for humans. Try to use it as an enhancement and a tool. And I think if you do that, it's gonna be all right. Speaking with rights, we're gonna come back to rights in our next segment.
Like, comment, subscribe, like, comment, subscribe, like, comment, subscribe. Know your rights, know your rights, know your rights before your flight.
All right, well, something every touring musician should know, and that's your rights. So this has to do with instruments, but we're gonna first get into a question that I get so many times from people that just generally want to know, can you carry your firearm for protection when you fly, when you travel? Can you fly with it? So if you carry a firearm while you travel, there are federal guidelines that apply. This is what the process is. So you have to declare it at the counter when you check in a locked hard case, right? You keep the ammo separate, although I've heard of certain airlines relaxing this now. But, you know, these rules don't have anything to do with concealed carrying. This is a general rule that mostly applies to most states in the U.S. A few states will unconstitutionally take your firearm from your luggage, so beware of those. Concealed carrying requires a permit unless you are a resident of a permitless carry state. So let's talk about that misconception right there. The misconception is that when you're flying with your firearm, you need some sort of license. And the reality with that is you don't need a license because, you know, that only applies to you carrying. So it's like when you fly, every place you go is considered your domicile, essentially, right? And we'll talk about why I say essentially in a moment. So, you know, if you live in a permitless carry state, that means that your state has laws that you don't need a license, but the trick is you have to be a resident of that state. So that's where the issue is. And if you're not a resident, you have to have a permit from another state that has reciprocation. And reciprocation means that there's basically a deal between states that your permits will be honored. So just when it has to do with traveling with a firearm, the thing you need to understand is you must check the regulations of where you're going, because everywhere has different policies and you wouldn't want to see yourself in a bad situation. Now, all my musicians who travel with instruments, guitars, basses, cymbals, TSA says these can go in the cabin or be checked, right? But when we want to travel with them on the plane now, I'm noticing this, and I'm sure you're noticing this too. Almost every flight for major markets is full these days. And, you know, I'd say when you're traveling with your instrument on a plane, it would be smart to use a hard case, you know, because you may have to gate check that, because everybody is walking on the plane. They might be sitting in row 30 and they're putting their bags in the first, you know, in the front of the plane. And so by the time we get on there, sometimes we don't have any room for our instrument that we need for our job. So I would also suggest that you have a list or a letter from your tour manager or your studio. And this helps, you know, if you had to deal with something at the border, if you're traveling internationally, or if, you know, the airport asks you, why are you bringing your instrument on board? You'd have some sort of, evidence of what you're doing that for. Now, this is a pro tip, and it applies, again, both to firearms and instruments when you're traveling. Just check each state regulation before you go, ahead of time. Okay, what's legal in one may require some other paperwork or something else in another place. And remember, your gear, your protection, your rights, they're all things that you need to handle responsibly. So remember, be responsible about what you're doing, and that will help you in the long run. So I think it's time to get to one of my favorite segments of the show, which is our interview, and let's jump into that. Bring on my guests here. All right.
This just happened. This just happened.
Yeah, this just happened.
All right, everybody. Well, it's time to bring in my guests, and without further ado, we're going to bring in our guests. This man is a friend of mine for many years, fresh off his Grammy nominations, Mr. Terrace Martin. Let me bring him in. All right, 1 second. Let me get him here. Let's get him in. All right, try that again.
I'm in.
Right. Yep, we're going to put you right here too, so everybody can see you side by side. All right, let's see here. Boom, there you go. And now I want to also introduce one of my favorite musicians of late. This cat is everywhere right now. He's been killing it, and he's super cool, and he's super, super, super talented. We're going to get into a lot of the stuff that he's been doing as well. And this is my guy, CARRTOONS. Let's bring him in. Let me get you right over here, CARRTOONS. 1 second, bro. Let me get you right where everybody can see you right. There we go. All right, let's go. Boom. What's up, fellas? How y'all doing?
What's going on, Trev? You brought the trio together.
You can hear me? You can hear me? Yeah, CARRTOONS and Terrace. What's up, man? So let me, I gave you a little intro, but let me do it a little bit more professional. So today, we got Terrace Martin nominated for the 2026 Grammys, 2 nominations for Best Progressive R&B Album for his project with Kenyon Dixon, Come As You Are, and for Best Melodic Rap Performance for the song We Made with featuring Rhapsody. Also, we got bass player, artist, and collaborator Ben Carr, a.k.a. CARRTOONS. Sorry about your government name. And guess what, y'all? One of the reasons I have CARRTOONS here is because all 3 of us worked on the same project. And what a lot of people don't know is CARRTOONS and I met during the pandemic all through DMs on Instagram. And we've probably had at least 3 or 4 placements in the last couple years, and we've never met in person. That's the age we're in right now. This is what I'm talking about. It's a different day. But you know what? Regardless of all that, let's everybody give them a big old welcome to the TrevBeats Show.
I like this, Trev. I like this, Trev. I like this. So, CARRTOONS, what's up, man?
You, brother. And man, we gotta change that soon. We gotta get together sometime. I'm gonna be in LA.
Yeah, no, in person.
We gotta do something in person, man. Like this seems like the trio right here. It seems like this might be some music right here. You know what I mean?
Oh, for sure.
So I got a couple questions. I got some individual, and then I have some for both of you. So Terrace, you've mastered the intersection of jazz, hip hop, and soul like very few ever have. And I'm just gonna tell you a funny story. The other night, I met a cat. I was doing some gear stuff, and I met a cat who runs a radio show. And I told him about the show, and I said, you guys are going to be on there. And of course, he was like, "Oh, Terrace Martin that guy's different. He's different." And it's like, I'm realizing now you have a whole generation of cats that have come up on your record. So you've mastered, I've seen you take jazz and hip hop and super soulful, honest music and mix it. So what part of your musical upbringing do you think shaped that fusion the most? What made you bring those things together like that in your musical upbringing, or who? What was your inspiration?
Yeah. No, that's a great question, because now I'm thinking about it. When the first 2 things that come to my mind is me growing up in not a celebrity musician household, a working musician household. Number 1, where my parents had the gig. Right. Which is weddings on Saturdays, church on Sundays, Monday night blues jam sessions, father hosted a Tuesday night bebop jam session, rehearsal on Wednesday, Thursday night funk jam session, Friday night gig at a bar or something like that.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? So I think it's that, but then I think it's also just born and raised in LA, Trev. You know, with us, it's like it's like every radio station here gets bored after a while. So you gotta turn that radio station after a while. And you know, from where I live, and then coming to see you in the valley, that's a good 40-minute drive. So that's you got 92.3 the beat, you got 94.7 the wave, you got Power 106, you got 88.1. So these are all stations. I'm coming to see you at 17, 18, or just my whole life, every 10 minutes turning that station. So if I'm turning that station, then in my head, it's like, you know what? I want to be that kind of musician that covers all that good music. And not just one. Although I do love jazz. Jazz is like my, you know, jazz. I mean, I can't even say jazz is my foundation because black music is my foundation.
That's right.
Jazz just happens to be a tier of that I love a lot more than a lot of others. You know what I'm saying? But it's really because of that, man. It's not no deep spiritual thing. It's just like I love all music. And Trev, you know, living in LA, you can't play one kind of music and think you the man.
Right. That's real. You got to be
that don't mean
versatile out here. Yeah, you got to do all kind of stuff.
I'm the greatest guy at this one thing. We're like, you might want to move back to wherever you come from because that's not Los Angeles culture. So that was, you know what I'm saying? Real
talk. No, you're right, and I imagine it's pretty close to that in New York, and that's CARRTOONS vibe. So CARRTOONS, you know, I found you, you know, online probably now close to 6 years ago, but I know you've been, you know, grinding, doing your thing in New York, but you've built this real huge loyal fan base that's really, in the last couple of years, man, you've been going crazy, and you have a very distinct sound. You know what I'm saying? That's what drew me to you, is your sound was so crazy, and I was like, yo, we got to collab. So what moment or project made you realize, okay, CARRTOONS, I got something different. I'm in my own lane. Like, what made you realize that you had a crazy lane, you know, that you could go explore and blow up like you have?
That wasn't the energy I was trying to come at it with at the time. I was just trying to make something really that felt unique to me. Mm-hmm. You know, something that, like, Saturday Morning would be the project that people really first heard. And that's why I started singing on my projects a lot. Is that me that's breaking up here?
It could be, perhaps. Could be.
Yeah, is this the music playing? It's the music playing in the background somewhere out here.
Here, yeah, I mean, I can turn that off or turn it down, actually. Let me turn that down. Here, we'll just talk for now. Yeah. Go ahead. So, yeah.
Now my headphones are okay.
Yeah, it's all good. I mean, we can still hear you. It's a little bit of a connection, but we can still hear you. Uh-oh, it's going bad now.
Okay.
Oh, I hear you. Go ahead, man. Go ahead. We'll get through it. I don't know if there's somebody's
checking out my music.
Yeah. It seems like, I don't know if it's a computer thing or what is that, but you know, it's all good. We can talk past it.
Is that better? Can you hear me?
Yeah, it's a little better.
It's still a little bit messed up, but I think it's all right.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, during COVID, a bunch of people just found my videos, and that ended up just in all these new people discovering my stuff that, you know, people that I've been trying to tap in with for years, like Nate Smith, you know, found my stuff through that. You know, we've been touring for the last 2-3 years through that. And, you know, he, like a lot of other people, hired me for a gig without me even like meeting in person. You know, we did a festival gig in Montreal. Just on the strength that he had just seen enough of my videos that he trusted that it was real, that I wasn't editing it in a way that was fake or something like that, you know, and that he could tell that it was like, I was like, this was the real deal, at least as far as he's concerned. So yeah, man, I was lucky that I was in the right place at the right time when everybody was home. And like I had a lot of stuff in the vault that I've been working on already like kind of building a sound that I believed in a lot.
Yeah.
And, just started to try to help somebody do their project every day. And then after that, try to tap in on my own thing and kind of just ended up spiraling into something that, is really great. And a lot of people have been tapping in.
Yeah, no, man, listen, it's amazing what you do. Is very, sonically it's crazy, all the above, man. And we all came together on that song We Made, and then Terrace took it and made it into what it is and got Rhapsody on it and Kenyon. And man, now we nominated for a Grammy, man, which is crazy. You know what I mean?
I want to add something. I want to add something about Cartoon, because when I first got hip to Cartoon, I didn't know what the fuck Cartoon was. I didn't know if it was a human. I didn't know anything. All I knew it was, I don't know how I heard, but what I heard a sound, and I kept hearing the sound, and people say Cartoon. I kept hearing the, like it was literally like how it's supposed to be to me. Like I know Cartoon from a sound first. It's a sound.
Not
and
hype.
It's interesting because all these. Yeah. Oh, no hype, no gimmicks, no bullshit, Trev. I'm respectfully. We don't.
Right.
But so Cartoon's one of the first guys that I got recognized through the internet. Never thought the internet could turn me on to a sound like a real human experience. Because now all these new producers sending me all these damn AI beats. They trying to sound like Cartoon. Cartoon been sounding the vintage sound. I mean, look. God bless everybody. I know everybody's into this lo-fi thing and that, but a lot of people are sampling this lo-fi thing. This Cartoon is playing things with that vibe and with that sound. And to me, that's one of Cartoon's superpowers that we should be honoring and really talking about. Where AI, I keep saying AI because all the vintage guys are really in, and I love. By the way, I love AI.
We just had a segment on it. Yeah.
Yeah, all the vintage guys, but it's like they're prompting what is in Cartoon's brain really playing.
There you go. That's
the
I
don't want to get into the names, but
no.
I'll say this. Every time I go back to that playlist that you send me, you and Cartoon, I say, wow, like we are in a good place of creativity because everybody's so scared of AI, but I embrace. I'm like Baby Herbie. I embrace everything.
That's right.
So,
that's right.
But I'm like, with Cartoon skill level of just the old fashioned badass songwriter with sonics.
Yep.
AI will never ever be able to catch up with somebody that's thinking for the future. It'll never catch up to a real thing like that. Like Cartoon is special, and that's why we should never fear AI or anything like that. Because dudes like Cartoon is creating this sound that you got to use so many plugins and prompts to, and he's like, boop, 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 boop. And then when I saw it with Nate Smith, I said, oh, he's a real human.
A real one, man. It's
and can really play and can really not just produce, because producing and writing is, first of all, we make a living off that. I love it. But producing and writing is completely fucking different than a player.
That's true. True story. It doesn't go hand in hand.
I respect the player. I respect a great player just as much as a platinum selling writer. I respect him same. So the fact that he has all that, man, I've been wanting to tell you that for a while. And Trev, man, thanks for really bringing us together. Who would ever thought me shuffling through my phone, through the Trev text message,
that goes on since the pandemic.
And go before and say, oh my God, I sent that to Rap City.
Yeah,
I sent that to Rap City, and she said, oh, this is it.
Yeah. Come on, man.
Well, man, I really appreciate that.
Your boy. We had a little technical glitch there. It's all good. I got y'all back.
But I just wanted to get that off, man. And I would love to get back in the room with like in a real room with y'all guys for like a week or so. 8 days.
Absolutely.
7 days.
Absolutely. Yeah, we got to do something. Man. So, and I have one question for both of you all, because, everybody, we've all worked together, but both of you guys are constantly pushing the boundaries of sound and technology, right? So as artists who value feel and tone and human connection, Where do you, because I just had a segment on AI, where do you see AI fitting into the future of music? And what parts of the creative process do you think should never be handed over to the machine? Or can they work together?
I'll let you go first, sir.
Well, the word never is interesting with art. I don't like to use, I don't have a jurisdiction to say what should never be into nothing, because imagine how the classical imagine how the classical piano player felt when the Wurlitzer came in. Imagine how this guy felt when the mini moog came in, when synthesizer, when sampling came in, and so it's like it's like all these things, and I'm 45 years old now. I'm raised up with this thing my whole life, so I remember when drum machines came into the music industry. And the drummers that didn't roll with technology, it put a lot of drummers out the business. My father was one of those diehard straight ahead musicians that didn't really flip when the drum machines came. A lot of cats did. So I remember when when the Lin drum came out. I remember when that happened. I remember when the DX7 came out. Trev, you remember this era? You was a kid too, when a lot of cats was getting out of work because the DX7 was at that time. Doing so many things, like the synclavier. What I've learned, whenever these new things come in, the only time it runs over a cat is when you try to fight the program.
Right.
That's right. That could be personal opinion. I don't know, but when I talk to Herbie, when I study all the greats that we love, it's like to embrace the new is always it. It's like
that's right.
It's kind of obvious. It's like, and why would you not want to embrace it? I mean, for me, let me tell you, I use AI I use it for a few things. I use it, Trevor, I'm always cutting acoustic records, but I don't have the type of studio where I can separate the piano from the drums. So I got to use AI to kill the drums. Or, okay, let me get something else. Jason, my guy Jason, we wrote a love song. And I'm like, man, I love this song for a woman, but we don't have a demo, and it's hard to keep hearing this buff man with this woman's song. So we put it through AI. You know what I'm saying?
Right. That's right. And that's great. Great use case. Yeah.
And even for me, I play the bass line. I'm starting to play the bass. I'll never be as great as Cartoon, and I'm not trying to be. But I started playing the bass, and I played the bass. It's like boom, 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 all open strings. I don't know what's what. Boom, 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 boom. And AI helped me play it right, and I copied AI. Now I got the bass line right.
Right.
So it's
tool.
It's a tool. It's a tool.
And that's responsible use. What about you? And I love that you said all that, Terrace, because that's one thing is people are fighting it. A lot of the times what makes people fight it is ego. It's like, it's not going anywhere. It's better to embrace it. So what do you think, Cartoons? What do you think about that?
I've always used it as a tool to kind of fill in the blanks of stuff that I couldn't do, like he was talking about. Like I was always kind of weaker on the mix side. So, when Isotope came out, all the ozone and all that kind of stuff, RX, I know you're talking about RX and all that kind of stuff too. These are tools that, you still got to use your ears to use, in a proper way. That stuff I've been using for a long time, and so I'm not anti any of that stuff.
It's a tool.
It's and I was lucky to grow up with my dad is a jazz musician as well, but he also was into technology weirdly.
Oh, that's beautiful.
And like he gave me a 8-track to record onto floppy disk when I was in 4th grade, and that changed my life. That was kind of the start of me recording stuff. And since then, we've been sharing with each other, updating plugins. I just updated all my plugins right before I got on this. Try to stay on it. Try to stay as fresh as I can.
Yeah, and, real talk. That's real talk, man. And
get the new Valhalla. Get the new Valhalla, y'all. Get the new Valhalla.
Check it.
Hey, so listen, what I'm saying, but see, hearing this from you all is very important, because here are two people that have proven time and time again they can do it. It's not an accident. It's not by chance. They can pull out the synths. We can all make the records and do different genres and all that stuff, and have proven this through long careers, but yet are not saying, oh, forget it, it's terrible, that's going to kill music. That mindset only exists with people, to me, that are insecure about something. I don't think that my instrument was the first one to get kind of killed with drum machines, next to synthesizers. So it's like we're still around. So I feel like, embracing it, and it's evolving. AI a year ago, I did a whole album when it was just basically audio. It's nothing close to what you can do today with a Suno or, some of these other ones. So it's evolving, and just like the use cases that you both mentioned, those are great things to help the process. Rather than sit there and say, I have this idea and it's just going to die here, you can now realize it. You know what I mean? And that's one of the great things, that we can all utilize it for. So would you say that the takeaway from all this is that it's still about your creativity and your output, right? That's still what the main thing is. It's like making
100%.
things and finishing them, right? And then when we talk about Grammy nominations and we talk about Grammys, one thing I want everybody to understand is not just the nomination. The nomination is a thing that is recognizing the work put behind it. That's what this is about. So when someone gets Grammy nominated, it's a nod of adoration for the work that they've put in. And I think that's the thing that's always amazing about being nominated. So congrats to both of you for your nominations. And Terrace, I know you have multiple other nominations because of your work on Kendrick's album. So, congratulations. More and more. You got your hands on a lot of stuff.
But I'm gonna keep it clean, man. I love working with all my friends, Kendrick.
Yeah.
All the top 10 chart. I love working with them, right?
Yeah.
But at the core of really me being an alto saxophone jazz musician, at the core of my soul, my mentality is still like that, to where it just feels good that us three, are nominated on an independent project with nowhere near the money to compete with these other people, and we still that song is strictly recognized. Yep. That song is strictly recognized on all of our ability, because I don't have the Grammy campaign money, fellas. So that is really recognized on the skill level that we have, and that's what getting nominated. Like, whether we win or not, just getting nominated by our peers for something that we just worked hard in the pandemic and some art is like really, like, it feels better kind of, because like when I'm nominated and get wins with the other guy, that's cool, and I love that too. But those machines are so big, and it's kind of, for me, going back to my jazz mentality, I start to feel like a poser. Like, this ain't even on me. This ain't even on me. No, I really feel like that a lot. People, I'm like, no, but the Sounds of Crenshaw stuff that we measure, this is ours. This is ours. This is not
right.
This is not Jimmy's or anybody else. This is none of that. This is ours.
Well, congrats again, especially on the other side of you as a label owner, and the fact that it is independent. Cartoons, everything you've been doing, man, you've been killing it out there. I'm looking forward to working in person, and working on some more stuff. Terrace, we've been doing this for decades now, man. So it never gets old, brother. We've been working for so many years, and everyone else that worked on the record, Kenyon, of course. Rhapsody,
man, Kenyon,
our homie Dom, like all the homies that worked on the record, it's there's something about, being able to work with your peers like that. You know what I mean? There's something different about that. So, you bringing all this together, man, once again, thanks, for that, and always looking out, bruh. And even, you looked out for me on the Summer Walker that just came out, and congrats on that too.
Keep it real. Hey, Trev, now we got our cousin Cartoon with us. We got a cousin now.
Amen.
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
We've been at this for like 30 years. Hey, Cartoon. It's been the same cats on records for about 30 years now with this crew. Am I lying, Trev?
No, not even a little bit.
It's
man, I've been following it. I know.
So now we got cousin Cartoon.
Yep.
We just got to get Cartoon to LA though, in this,
Yeah.
I'll be out in January for a couple weeks, man. I would love to hang.
Come on.
Look,
we're gonna do that.
We are ready for you, man. We ready for you.
Yeah, man. I really appreciate all the nice words, man. And I appreciate you connecting us, Trev. You know, I'm really just happy to be involved with y'all, and I'm honored for real. So,
well, I appreciate y'all coming on my show. This is the first episode. You know, we starting it with a bang. My premiere. I really appreciate you guys giving me your time.
I got an idea.
What's up, T?
I do a record I got an idea.
What's up?
Why don't we just do a trio record? Send some music, 5-6 songs. Look, I'm doing a deal. We split it 3 ways. Send the record. I get the shit done, 6 songs. We put it out. We split that master. It's gonna get licensed.
Right.
That's it.
Real talk. Yeah, real talk. That's
we
business,
should really
y'all.
just do that. I mean,
that's
it would
business,
be
y'all.
Hey,
that's business.
I'm ready. Look.
Oh, I know you're ready.
Hey, man.
That's business.
He's got a saxophone in his hand, too.
Yeah, come on, man. Hey, cartoons, you know, this is something this is the side of T. This is how it rolls, man. Like, sometimes things just happen, boom, and we just knock it out. So we're all going to reconvene for sure and get some work done and some music. And I'm very, once again, gracious for y'all coming on the show, man. So we're going to give you some applause on the way out. Oh, that's the wrong one. That ain't fire the sound guy. All right, so, yeah, man. So thanks again, y'all, for coming on. And we're going to get into another segment right now. But I really appreciate y'all for coming on, man. Thank you so much.
Hey, Trevor, we appreciate you. Later, y'all.
All right. Peace.
Appreciate it, y'all.
Like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe. Like, comment, subscribe.
And we are about to, end the show. And I just wanted to end it on a note. We've talked a lot today about AI, and, we've talked a lot about a whole bunch of stuff today. But I just wanted to end it on a sentiment of, no matter what we accomplish, we stand on the shoulders of those who came before us. We went in the history of music. There are a lot of people that paved the way for us to even be able to use AI, and in that thought, before we wrap the show, I just wanted to take a moment to remember and reflect some of the people that have left us.
In power, we remember you forever.
All right, everybody. Well, this is our first show. Thank you so much for tuning in. Next time on TrevBeats Show, we'll be diving into what it takes to keep your career relevant and long-lasting. You don't want to miss that. That's a question that I get all the time. How do you get a career and not just a flash in the pan? And our guest is going to be the legendary, incredibly legendary, multi-genre, amazing producer and bass player and songwriter, Mike Elizondo. So you don't want to miss that. Next time on the TrevBeats Show. And before we go, I mentioned that we have some giveaways, so let's talk about that. All the links. Well, first of all, we're going to talk about the giveaway. So at the end of this broadcast, I want everybody to head over to my Instagram page, follow XLN Audio, and follow me if you haven't followed me already. Tag 2 friends in the comments of the post that I'm going to make, and share this post. The post that's on the page, not here, but on the page, okay? The reality is, we got some comments. Hold on, let's get some comments. Okay, I see Keisha H is in the comments. She got a little bit of comment. Let's see what she's talking about. Oh, okay, thank you for that. Appreciate that. But I want you guys to do that go over to my Trevor Lawrence Jr. Instagram, and then we're gonna select 5 winners to get a free copy of the hip hop gospel pack from Excellent Audio. All right, and here is all of the links. These are all my socials, and periodically you've seen the little barcode go up. That's for merch. We have merch on the TrevBeats store, which is on my website, trevorlawrencejr.com. And essentially, it is going to be time to get out of here. So I just want to say peace. Thank you again, and I'll see you next time on the TrevBeats Show.
It's the TrevBeats Show and we out.
We out. We out. We out.
We out.
We out.
It's the TrevBeats Show and we out. It's the TrevBeats.